This video is about Generation X and what Generation X is or how it's defined. I'm a member of Generation X. Generation X are the people in America that were born from 1965 to 1979. It's kind of a complicated issue because we were a smaller generation that faced the most change over the shortest quantum of time. So today I'm going to delve into that. If you don't know a lot about what Generation X is or was, this video may be of a lot of interest to you. So let's get started. My generation, in my opinion, was born in the backdraft of a lot of society problems and instability and famous leaders being assassinated and the investigations and or the inquiries into those deaths, which makes my generation even more complicated because of who came before us. In my opinion, after JFK was killed, the money just took over America when it came to the advertising, the marketing, the whole political process was controlled by money and the oligarchy, and society really changed, and I believe that heavily affected my generation. We were the first generation to deal with the AIDS epidemic. We were also born right around the time of the end of the Cold War. So we were teenagers when the Cold War was basically ending. We were the first out of high school dealing heavily with the internet. We had our parents, or the parents of this generation, had the highest divorce rate. We were the most promiscuous. There were massive changes in my generation with work and dating. We were the first generation to heavily deal with the beginning of online dating, dating services, and phone dating. We were the first generation to deal very heavily with tons of corporate greed. For example, jobs being eliminated, globalization, and things like that. We were also the first generation, when you look at dating, that dealt with want ads in the dating sphere. I believe we were the smartest generation, but faced the highest amount or the quickest amount of change over the shortest quantum of time. We were the highest educated for college degrees up to that point, but the economy kept ratcheting up the change, which may have more to do with the change in my generation than any other X factor, in my opinion. We now have the third highest divorce rate of all the generations. A lot of us now are in our 40s and 50s. The boomers were the parents of Generation X. They had the highest divorce rate of all the generations thus far in American history. That may tell you something about why our divorce rate is one of the highest. Both generations were into sex without commitment. Massive issues with self-esteem and being prepared for marriage plagued both of those generations. If you just look at the numbers, it's hard to stabilize life when things keep changing socially and economically so quickly. We were, in my opinion, I call us the chameleon generation because we kept facing all this change so quickly. I also think that the X generation should only be the people born in the 70s. That's my opinion. I think the people born in the 1960s should be a different generation, which should be called either W or the Boomers 2 or Pre-X or some other name, because I think there was a lot of changes for the kids that were born in the 70s that was a lot different than the ones that were born, say, in the earlier 60s. So that's a big thing that I think gets overlooked with my generation. A third of us never married, which ties back into a lot of these things with divorce and sex without commitment and those kinds of things. That gets heavily overlooked. Up to that point, we were the highest percentage in any generation that never married. A lot of people ask me why I backed Senator or then Rep. Bernie Sanders in 2016 for president, and I'll tell you why. I'm not a socialist, I'm actually an independent, but I supported Senator Sanders because he was the only candidate at that time 10 years ago that was really talking about these issues that plagued Generation X and Y, such as pollution, war, trade, climate change, the functioning of our government, and money in politics. These issues are still out there and have never been fully addressed or resolved, and that's one of the reasons I supported him 10 years ago for president. One thing I will say about my generation, you can say what you want about us or against us. All the people that I knew in my life in politics, the workforce, or beyond, that were committed to making their country, their community, and their state better were all in Generation X. These people were the most committed for positive societal change and things of that nature. I was definitely one of them, and I've met people out there that even were more into this stuff even than I was. So that's something to be heavily proud of. All the people that were committed to making our society better that I met out there were all in Generation X, and they were mostly born in the 1970s. Once again, thank you for your time, thank you for your consideration. My next video is going to be on the slacker issue, mainly with the job market as it pertains and is germane to Generation X. Thanks again. It's free to subscribe.